Hello colleagues, we're just going to share with you some key notes regarding the new early career framework and the appropriate body changes that are affecting us all as we look forward to a new academic year. So the big kind of policy context that we need to share with you is the introduction of the early career framework reforms. There is the fabulous policy paper website which does give quite a lot of the detail, but it's part of that bigger picture from the DfE of reforming training and support for teachers at all stages of their career, from initial teacher training through to the leadership suite of national professional qualifications. So that real investment in teacher training, in workforce development is that core golden thread that goes through each of those stages. So as a result, there has been the implementation of the new early career framework, which is easily accessible online. And the next step for that is actually using it to support the induction for early career teachers. So using the early career framework, schools are being asked to support their early career teachers, formerly known as NQTs, going forward. The outline of all of the key changes is in the documentation around the induction for early career teachers, and ultimately the kind of the idea is that the induction should provide a foundation for early career teachers and equip them with the tools to be an effective and successful teacher. So that's the vision. What we're going to do is just highlight some of the key changes from our NQTs, the induction that we have in place for them this year, going through to our ECTs, our early career teachers, going forward from September. So here is an overview of the main changes from the current arrangement and what will be in place for new early career teachers from September. It's worth noting that if you have any colleagues who remain NQTs, so they still haven't completed their induction, this may be a colleague who's done 2 or 1 term of, or half a term of their current NQT year, they will continue to be subject to the previous statutory induction arrangements that will apply for NQTs. So they will be a legacy cohort that will continue to have all of the entitlements under the current arrangement. So 1 year induction, 10% reduced timetable, etc. So moving forward, all of our colleagues who start from September and are registered for induction from September will be subject to the new statutory requirements. So that means that their length of support as an early career teacher will move from 1 year to 2 years. The timetable reduction will be extended into the 2nd year, so it'll be a 10% reduced timetable in year 1 and a 5% reduced timetable in year 2. So they will have that in that 2nd year, slightly more release time to support their ongoing development. In terms of content, currently there is no defined content. There is no specific outcomes or recommendations around what should be delivered other than to support the NQT to demonstrate that they are secure with the teacher standards. There is a new requirement that the induction should be based on that early career framework, an evidence-based framework outlining high quality teaching, behaviour management, pedagogy and practice, and many other threads as outlined in the document. The role of the mentor will change. So under the current arrangement, there is no defined role for a mentor as being separate from an induction tutor. So what we have to consider going ahead is that there will be a designated mentor for the early career teachers throughout the 2 years, and that role is separate from the induction tutor's role. A mentor will be specifically in that coaching mentoring space, whereas the induction tutor will be involved in the monitoring of the ECT against the teacher standards as part of the appropriate body services. Following on from that, in terms of assessment, There are 3 formal assessment points against the teacher standards, and for the new ECTs, they will still have to be marked against the teacher standards, but there'll be 2 formal assessment points, one at the end of year 1 and the second one at the end of year 2, with regular progress reviews at the end of each term. Bearing in mind, just a reminder there that the early career framework is not an assessment tool, it is still the teacher standards that ECTs will be marked against. In terms of funding, so the funding for Induction was included as part of the core school budget, as part of the normal funding route into schools. What you'll find is if you are choosing the fully funded Induction, there's additional support for training, but all schools will receive the additional funding to deliver the early career framework to fund the additional activity in the second year. And there is further information as we go through around the funding arrangements. Currently, the ECT following the first year progresses through the pay scale. This is the same from September. There is a slight change of the role of the appropriate body, and we'll go into the next stages as to the why. The role of the AB currently is in checking new teachers receive a statutory entitlement and are fairly and consistently assessed. That will continue, but will be extended into this concept of the AB checking that the ECT has received a programme of support and training based on the ECF. And there's a bit more guidance about that coming up in a second. So this is just a section that's been pulled out from that induction guidance, and it highlights this, the different threads and responsibilities of the school. There's a large volume of support and information in that, which is incredibly useful. So we'd highly recommend induction teachers to become familiar with that guide. What we would highlight to you is section 2.38. It talks about this monitoring and support programme for each ECT. There must be a programme of training which covers the early career framework. They must have those one-to-one mentoring sessions, support and guidance from a designated induction tutor, observation of their practice, the review of progress meetings, and an opportunity to observe experienced teachers. What we're going to do is look specifically at this entitlement to a programme of training. So in terms of being able to offer that early career framework coverage. So what has happened over the last 24 months is that 4 core curriculums were developed, and from that 6 lead national providers are providing the training for the full induction programme, which we'll talk about in a second, or the core induction will stem from those 4 providers: EDT, Teach First, Best Practice Network and Ambition, who developed a core content. So those are providers in the landscape. So what does this mean for schools? Well, for schools, everyone has a universal entitlement to 10% and 5% timetable for ECT in the first and second year. And there will be additional funding for call or mentor time in the second year, so that they have so that you have funding for their release to conduct the mentoring in the second year. So what over and above is on offer for schools above the universal entitlement? Well, schools can choose to access the fully funded or free full induction programme. This is provided by a local delivery partner of the 6 providers. So if you're interested in working with one of those providers, we'd suggest getting in touch with them and seeing if they have a local delivery partner in your area. The local delivery partner will be responsible for taking the self-directed study material, the mentor session and the ECT training sessions and delivering it to the ECT and the mentor. So this will be an external body providing the training services at no cost to the school, and fully funded by DFE. If you want to take a different route and you would prefer to access the core induction programme, these materials, that is the self-directed study material, the mentor sessions and the ECT training sessions, are readily and freely available online. The responsibility for the school then lies in actually providing and delivering the full training and ensuring that the ECT is accessing all of the study materials and support through that. So it will be taking the core induction programs and developing your own route to allowing the ECT and the mentor to access the training to fully meet the induction requirements. Following on from that, if schools should wish, they have an option to do their full induction themselves. That would be to take the early career framework as it stands and develop their own 131 program covering that framework. So it would be meaning developing your own self-directed study materials, the mentor materials for the training itself, the ECT training, and ensuring and then delivering it and ensuring that colleagues have their full statutory entitlement to support and training. So those are the 3 offers that are available to schools. There are differences, obviously, and there are some different implications. So in terms of support and funding that will be in place for all 3, if you choose the full induction programme, the time-off timetable is funded for ECTs and mentors in the 2nd year of induction. This is the same for all 3. You can see across there the time-off timetable funded for ECTs and mentors is the same for all 3. In terms of the sequence 2-year programme based on the early career framework, both the full induction and the core induction offer schools that free of charge, whereas the school is developing that themselves in option 3. In turn, for the full induction programme, they have access to the self-directed study materials on an online portal, materials to support mentor sessions designed to reduce mentor workload is also in place, all accessible through a portal for ongoing monitoring of the coverage of the curriculum. In the core induction programme, schools will be delivering that themselves, so they'll use the study materials, including videos and evidence-based reading, and the materials to support mentor sessions, and further materials to adapt to deliver further training for early career teachers. So they will get that as the full entitlement for support. In addition to all of that, the full induction programme has further funding options. So the training itself is fully funded by an external provider. So the DfE funds a local delivery partner to deliver the training for your ECT and mentor. And then there's also in the 2nd year additional funding available to those schools accessing the full induction programme, which will allow a backfill for mentor time spent undertaking the training over the 2 years. This is exclusive to this full induction programme. So hopefully you can see the range of support available should you choose to use the full induction programme, the core induction programme, or the school-based induction programme. What you need to consider also is if you choose one of these 3 routes, there will be different roles in terms of the appropriate body. So as the appropriate body is responsible for ensuring the ECT has a fair assessment, they are also responsible for quality assuring or checking more specifically that the ECT has had a full access to their support entitlement. So for schools choosing the full induction programme with a delivery partner, because they are accessing that full induction programme that has a range of mechanisms to ensure engagement, it means that new teachers, new early career teachers will be ensured that they are receiving the statutory entitlement, and therefore the role of the appropriate body is to check that they're being fairly and consistently assessed. From that, if you are choosing to do the core induction using the materials, you will have a check from the appropriate body that new teachers are receiving a statutory entitlement and that they're fairly and consistently assessed. But you will also be receiving fidelity checks from the appropriate body. They will work with you to assess and look at your core induction program. They will work alongside you to just check that it is meeting the full requirements of delivery. So for example, that you are delivering all the training sessions, you are delivering the mentoring sessions, and it's showing fidelity to the program. So it's sequenced in the sequence that is within the program. If you're choosing your own 2-year induction program, what the appropriate body will be working with you on is that check again that they're being fair, that your ECTs are being fairly and consistently assessed. But what you'll also find is that they will work with you to look at your full induction program. The design of the program ensures that it covers the early career framework and is meeting the intention behind the induction statutory requirements for next year. So they will be expected to check in greater level of detail where a school has opted to design their own due to the greater risk that a school-based induction could diverge quite a bit from the early career framework when DfE accredited materials are not used as the basis for induction programme. If you do want to know more about the checks and support available for schools accessing the core induction and the school-based induction, you can look at the guidance document for the appropriate body, which does show the fidelity checking templates. You can see exactly what the appropriate bodies will be using to work with schools. So hopefully that's given you a clear outline of the 3 options that you have on the table. So what schools are invited to do is to use the Managed Training for Early Career Teachers portal, where they can log in as their school and they will be asked to articulate if they have an ECT. If they do not have an ECT, they share that they do not have an ECT. You still must log in just to confirm that you do not have an ECT. From that, you'll be asked to share what your what approach you will be taking to the early career framework. So are you doing the fully funded full induction program with a provider, or if you're doing the core induction programs where you're using those materials and delivering it yourself, or if you're doing the full DIY approach, the school-based program. So all of that is collected on that portal. Following on from that, schools are then asked to upload their ECT details and mentor details as we go forward, so that then information can be passed on to your nominated lead provider. So you are suggested to get in touch with either the lead providers of choice to see if they have a local delivery partner, or check in with your local teaching school hub to see which provider they are working with and the offer that they are providing to schools in your area. With that in mind, if you do want to know a bit more about the funding summary, you'll find a lot of the key notes shared here around the universal offer. So that's 5% of timetable in the second year induction and mentor time provided in the second year. There is a summary there of how the different payments are being calculated for different areas. You'll be able to see your own specific area and what funding that will look like. But it does highlight there on the second half of the page about the additional funding exclusive to schools who are accessing the full induction programme. That is the funded training programme, which the DfE will put in place or fund directly to the national provider, and also the additional mentor training backfill. That will consist of 36 hours of backfill time over the 2-year period per mentor. So if you are thinking about getting in touch with your local delivery partner, do get in touch with your local teaching school hub. So our regional teaching school hub in the area of the East Midlands range across the area. So ourselves, our Spencer Teaching School Hub, we can see we serve the schools of Derby, South Derbyshire, Arrowash and beyond. And we are with EDT, Education Development Trust, as our national lead provider. So you can actually go onto their website and find out information about their offer, and also register direct with them should you wish to secure a place on the fully funded induction programs with EDT. The majority of our local hubs are also working with EDT. So we have John Taylor Teaching School Hub in the kind of Staffordshire area. You can see what areas it covers there. They're also working with EDT. We have Potentia Teaching School Hub in the north of Derbyshire there, also working with EDT. Over in Nottinghamshire and Nottingham, we have Redhill Teaching School Hub and Flying High Teaching School Hub, who are working with EDT also, and finally Lead Teaching School Hub over in Lincolnshire, who also, as I mentioned, working with EDT. So hopefully if you're in our region and you can see your teaching school hub and the offers that they have available for you, do get in touch with them and to find out more information about your local delivery partner. With that in mind, if you are working in the Spencer Teaching School Hub area or wish to work with a Spencer Teaching School Hub, as we've already said, we are working with EDT, which means that our offer for the Early Career Framework will follow these 12 blocks. You can see the deliberate repetition from year 1 and year 2, so where there is and kind of interrupting the forgetting and a revisit and deepening of key threads from year 1 to year 2 to build and progress. And you can see the block sequencing that is in place there, from culture and climate, kind of environment. The how pupils learn to memory and cognition is the second block in both years. Coming through to effective classroom practice, teaching and adaptive teaching, subject and curriculum knowledge, through to assessment, feedback and questioning, and then this idea of a people professional, continuing your professional development. So hopefully that gives you an overview of the sequence. If you're interested in finding out a bit more about the structure of it, the EDT offer is more details of the EDT offer available on their website. But this gives you a little infographic which shows you what you can expect from your local delivery partner for the live face-to-face training. So the regional training and the local group sessions are provided face-to-face by your regional delivery partner. And then the early career teachers and the mentors will have a range of webinars that they'll be accessing asynchronously alongside the self-study reading and reflection materials. You can see the different hours there. The main addition for the mentor is that they will have a support of another mentor where at mutually agreeable times they'll be connecting. It could be face-to-face, it could be remote through Zoom or Teams or other interfaces to get that connectivity and support from a colleague in another setting. So hopefully you can see how that offer pulls together and what is on the table for schools. We hope that this information video has helped you to gather your thoughts and your next steps as a school, and we wish you the best with how you move forward to support your early career teachers in the new academic year. If you do have any further questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and we look forward to a new academic year together. And if you are working with the Hub, we look forward to working and supporting you in your next steps. Thank you.